Morning, students.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Fine. What about your what examination today? Java. How you are written? Respond. 508, 506. 508, 506. 508 is not there.
Yes, sir.
Turn on your video. 506. 506 is not there.
Yes, sir, I'm there, sir.
All of you turn on your videos. Turn on your videos. Are you able to hear me? Turn on your videos, students. Remaining only 3, 4 are there. $38, 505, 23, 45, G0, 520, 549, 33, 503, 25. $33, 13, 60, 20. $513, 560, 505, 508. Still you are in you're not turned on. So I'm going to remove those who are not going to turn on your videos. Okay. And next time I won't say you to turn on video. I will remove the students. Okay, 33. Okay, fine. And I will remove the students, those who are not turn on your videos. 501 still. Next time I won't give any reminders. 39, 44, 502, 527, 31.
So 502 video on this one, sir.
527, 531, 501, 513. Okay, fine. Hi everyone. No response. By giving this statement, I'm going to start Unit 1, but very less number of Unit 3, but very less number of students. I will be giving some message in the group. Yesterday, before any sections kalpi lada the. Don't turn off your videos, turn on your video. Okay, so let's start. So before going into this, I would like to share the syllabus with you first of all, and then we'll be going with the what do you say, the Unit 3. What are all things that are left out in Unit 3 that we'll discuss, and then we'll be entering into the Unit 3. Right. So in this Java programming, what are all things that are left out in Unit 1 is forms of inheritance. Next, this is next thing is object class. and this string. Okay, string class, object class, forms of inheritance. These three topics are left out in unit 1. And unit 2, serialization programs, followed by enumeration and then generics. 3 topics in unit 1, 3 topics in unit 2 are left out. Okay, so I will address these things after completion of this exception handling. I will complete unit 1 and 2 topics, and then I will go with multi-threading. Because this multi-threading takes less time, hardly 4 or 5 classes we can complete this multi-threading. But exception handling takes a lot of time. We need to discuss many things in exception handling. Very important topics these are all. So we'll go with introduction of unit 3 today. What do you mean by this exception handling? Fundamentals of exception handling we'll be discussing, and then we'll be going with in-depth of this in coming classes. So it takes almost 5 to 6 classes to complete this exception handling things. So try to remember here, the thing is very simple statement, very simple thing, that if you are listening to the class from unit 3, then it's very easy. Because from unit 1 you have inheritance, polymorphism, you already come across these topics in C and C++. At least you heard about those things. But coming to this packages, you might be having some doubt, interfaces, you might be having some doubts, and what files many students having the doubts. And because of that, I shared the things also. Many requests I received from the students that they need recording videos. So I given that by taking the permissions, and I posted everything in the thing. And today onwards, not today, mostly from Monday onwards, again I will be uploading our current sessions into the YouTube, and you can refer that. And those who are absent for the sessions, they can also refer those things. Okay, fine. Right. Now let's go with exception handling mechanism. What do you mean by this exception handling mechanism? So this was the things that are there, and it contains mainly two parts. Your unit 3 mainly contains 2 parts: exception handling and then multi-threading. 2 things it contains. What do you mean by exception handling and what do you mean by multi-threading? The 2 parts are there, and these 2 things we'll be discussing. Now let's enter into the PPT. Oh, not open it. 1 minute. I think only 2 students are turned on video. Remaining students. Fine. So your unit 3 mainly contains 2 things. 2 things. One is exception handling. Other one is multi-thread. So in this exception handling, we'll be going to discuss about what do you mean by error, and yeah, sorry, I opened other one. Fine. So here, first we'll be going with exception handling. Fundamentals of exception handling we'll be discussing, and then we'll be going with exception types. Terminations here itself I'm going to cover, and uncaught exceptions we'll be discussing. then followed by using try, catch, multiple exceptions clauses. That means using try and catch, how to use this try and catch, multiple catch clauses, and then nested try statements, throws, finally built-in exceptions, and creating our own exceptions. Just like creating our own packages, we have what creating our own exceptions. So these are all things that we'll be discussing in this unit 3. And then later we'll be entering, in the exception handling, later we'll be entering into the multi-threading. So differences between thread-based tasking, process-based, and then Java thread model, creating threads, thread prioritization, synchronizing threads, inter-thread communication. These things we'll be discussing. See, this threads is very simple, but you need to understand it. If you understood this, threads are going to be very, very simple. And coming to this exception, already you have this exception topics in your C++. So there you might be knowing about try and catch. That's it. If any exception statements, if any statement that is exception, that you'll be placing in try. If exception occurs, that what can be handled by catch block. That things you'll be knowing in C++, right? In C++, is that exception concepts is there? Can anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So here also we'll be having the same thing, but here will be having something called as a predefined exception and user-defined exception. Some depth concepts are there in case of this exception, and there we are not in a position to create our own exceptions, but here we are in a position to create our own exceptions that we'll be discussing. Now let's have a look into this, right? So generally what happens is, when the programmer is going to develop any kind of software or any kind of program, suppose let us discuss, you have started learning the C language. In first year, you are started learning C language, and when you executed first time the first program in C, so you might be receiving some problems. See, you are a programmer. Let us assume that you are a programmer. And you are writing a program on code blocks. You opened a code blocks, and your faculty shown you write a program to print a hello world message. Hello world message program. So how you are writing the program in C language? So first of all, you are taking hash include stdio.h, and then hash include conio.h, and then main function void space main, and inside this main function you are taking some statement over here, printf. Right? Hello world. Very good. Karthikeya, you are the one who will respond in the class, but we are expecting few things from you. I will discuss with you in person, and if possible, you call me today 6 o'clock or between 6 to 6:30. Okay. Karthikeya,
Sir.
yeah, call me today between 6 to 6:30. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So we are writing this program. Is there any error in the program? One message I received. Very good, Prashant.
Yes, sir.
What is that error, Prashant?
Conio.h.
Conio.h.
Semicolon, sir.
Semicolon, Ranjit, Vinay. Where semicolon?
Hello world.
Hello.
After print statement.
Yeah. Here there exists what an error, that is semicolon. And what type of error it is? Huh? What type of error it is?
Syntactical error.
Who is this? Who said syntactical error?
Amit.
Very good. So this type of error can be called as syntax error, because the C language the C language has only its syntax, but we are not following that syntax. And when we are giving it to the compiler, compiler doesn't compile it. When we are giving it to compiler does not compile it. Okay, compiler does not compile it. It says that you missed a semicolon. You missed what? A semicolon doesn't compile it. It generates an error, and the error is that syntax error. The error is what? A syntax error. Right. Now, what we'll be doing is we'll be going with one more program, students. Now, everyone got right. Suppose I'm writing Java program here, students. See, I'm writing Java program here. Class space demo. Inside this class demo, I'm taking public static void main string args opening brace, closing brace, and closing of class. Now here we'll be taking something like system.out.println hi. Is that any error in the program? Students, any error in the program?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Brackets are
ప్రింట్ తప్పుంది సార్ స్పెల్లింగ్.
Print tappunda? Oh, sorry. Okay, that is one. ఇంకేమైనా errors ఉన్నాయా? Very good.
arcs తర్వాత bracket వేస్తా.
ఏంటన్నా?
String arcs.
Okay, right. Sorry, అదొక error అనుకుందాం. Next. How many errors are there? One more error is there.
హాయ్ తర్వాత స్పేస్.
క్లాస్
Who said class?
ప్రశాంత్
Prashant, tell me what's the error?
క్యాపిటల్ సి ఉంది సార్ క్లాస్.
Yes, very good, very good. See, here I taken one error, that is capital C. Wanted I taken capital C. This is error. We have a keyword called CLASS. We don't in all in lowercase. We don't have a keyword called capital CLAS. Okay. See the difference. Suppose if I entered capital C, it looks like this. If I entered small c, it looks like this. Okay. Very good, Prashant. Fine. Now what happens is what happens here is this kind of errors comes under which category? That as you said, the Kartikeya said that there is no praise here. Very good. And println method is wrong, and class is what thing is wrong. So this type of errors comes under which category? Which category? Response, students.
సింటాక్స్ సార్.
Again, it comes under what? Syntax errors. Very good, very good. So this kind of errors also comes under syntax errors, either in C, either in Java. This type of errors comes under what? Syntax error. Okay. Now let's go with one more thing here. Let's go with one more thing here. I'm going to write. I'm going to write one more program. The programmer is going to write one more program here. The programmer is going to write one more program over here. Let's go with our Java program only. Class space demo. Inside this class space demo, I'm taking public static void main string args assume that there is opening brace is there, closing parenthesis is there, or else we'll be going next time. Opening brace, closing brace, and close of what? A class. And here we are taking two variables, int a is equal to 10 and b is equal to what? 20. Then system dot out dot println of a plus and sum colon plus a plus b plus a and then plus b semicolon. Okay, so when I execute this program, what's the output that I will be getting over here? Can anyone? When we given this program to JVM, when I given this program to Java compiler, is that generates any error? Respond. Respond, students. Is that generates any error?
నో సార్.
No. No errors. 23. 23.
Yes, sir.
Is there any error?
No, sir.
No. JVM. And JVM generates output. And what's the output that JVM will generate here? 38.
Yes, sir.
What's the output that
Sir,
JVM is going to generate?
It's A plus B or A minus B, sir.
So whatever appears over there, and you need to answer for that. Don't ask me again question. I need an answer. That's it. As per that instruction, give me an answer. 38.
Yes, sir.
Instruction ఎలా ఉందో చూసి ఆ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ప్రకారం ఇవ్వమ్మా. You are in right path.
Minus 10 maybe, sir.
You are on right path. Just give me some colon
10.
10. కరెక్టే చెప్పారమ్మా, చెప్పండి. -10.
Yes, sir.
What you are expecting, Maya? Expected, what we are expecting here? Some colon.
Minus 10.
What is our expectation? Some colon.
Some 30.
30 is our expectation. But what we got?
Minus 10.
-10. Then problem with what? Compiler.
No, sir.
Who is that? Who said logic first time? Who said logic?
Amita, sir.
Very good, very good. The problem with what? Logic here. The problem is not with code. The problem is not with JVM. The problem is not with the Java compiler. The problem is with logic. By mistake, the programmer has placed, instead of one symbol, he placed another symbol over here. So that's the reason it generates what? A logical error. Even though we got successful execution without any errors, even though we got output, but the error is what? But we are not, we not got expected output. So this kind of error can be called as logical error. This kind of errors can be called as what? Logical errors. Logical errors. Okay, clear with this, students? Logical errors, we are expecting there are some, but the program is giving us what? Minus. And this logical errors, who has to take the responsibility? Logical errors occurs because of what? Programmer negligency. Because of programmer mistake. Because of programmer mistake, the logical errors are going to be occurred over here. Okay, clear with this? Syntax error and logical error, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Only one is
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
Now let's go with one more program here. Class demo. String args. Opening brace, closing brace. Int a is equal to 10 and b is equal to what? 0. Now system dot out dot println of a divided by b. System dot out dot println of a minus b and a plus b. Okay, so when we are giving it to what JVM, is there any error? The JVM is going to generate any error for Java compiler?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
by
sir.
Java
A-
compiler. Java compiler will generate error.
No, sir.
Java compiler will generate error. No. Who said no?
Prashant, sir.
Why Java compiler won't generate error? Is there any reason, Prashant?
Syntax error, logical error లేదు సార్.
Syntax error, logical error లేదు. అంటే లాజికల్ ఎర్రర్ డిటెక్ట్ చేస్తుందా జావా కంపైలర్?
తెలియదు సార్.
తెలియదు. Okay, so what's your answer, students? Prashant has given answer that no error.
Sir, A by B అనేది exception కదా.
A by B అనేది ఎక్సెప్షన్. ఓకే, అదే ఇక్కడ ఏమవుతుంది అనేది చెప్పాలి. నా కంపైలర్ దగ్గర ఎర్రర్ వస్తుందా, JVM దగ్గర ఎర్రర్ వస్తుందా?
Runtime error, sir.
JVM దగ్గర వస్తుంది సార్.
JVM. Who said JVM?
41.
Why not it is compiler, Danish?
Parenthesis లోపల మనం మిస్టేక్ ఏం చేయలేదు కదా సార్ A by B దగ్గర.
Okay, come with the proper thing, Danish. And you know that, but you are not expressing it properly. What I feel. Respond, Danish. చెప్పండి మీరు ఏం చెప్పాలనుకుంటున్నారు? It is runtime, sir.
A,
Runtime.
B డిక్లేర్డ్ ఉన్నాయి కదా సార్.
Okay.
సో ఎర్రర్ రాదు సార్. అంటే కంపైల్ టైం ఎర్రర్ రాదు సార్.
ఓకే ఫైన్ ఫైన్. అందుకే రన్ టైమ్ లో వస్తుంది అనేసి చెప్తున్నారు. అండ్ అమిత సెడ్ సంథింగ్, నాట్ సంథింగ్, సారీ, షీ సెడ్ it is runtime error, sir. It is caught during execution. How you can say it is runtime error? Is there any reason? That what I'm asking, Amita. Emana reason unda adi runtime error అని చెప్పడానికి?
Divide by zero exception.
Divide by zero exception runtime లోకి వస్తుందని చెప్పారా? ఎవరు చెప్పారు? See students, by this time you need to be very matured in programming. I'm not saying that you are not matured. You are very good in programming, because your submission of assignments in CRT itself speaks that to what extent you are good in what thing. And any student from you got any prize in V code, Vigyan code or V code? Respond none. I think B section there is one student, I think, right? So class space demo, opening brace, closing brace, public static, void main, string arcs, opening brace, closing brace. And here we'll be taking int a is equal to 10 and then b is equal to 0. System.out.println a divided by b. Generally in mathematics, a divided by b means what we will be getting?
Infinity.
Infinity.
Undefined,
Undefined.
Yeah.
not defined, sir.
Very good. Very good. Java C space demo.java. No error. See, what happens with Java compiler or any other compiler is that whatever the responsibility, whatever the role that compiler has, it fulfills that particular role. That's apart from that, it doesn't do anything over there. That means, suppose the compiler duty is this demo class has to be declared with a lowercase letter, but we are taken here capital C. When I compile it, it generates an error. It generates an error because it is going to check it. The role of compiler is to check from first line to last line, and every line is as per the syntax of your Java, as per the predefined methods, as per the keywords or not. Suppose if I'm going to take here this keyword as public, but we don't have a keyword called capital P public, we have a keyword called small p public, but when I'm going to compile it, it doesn't allows identifier expected, like that it's giving some message over that. Okay, suppose if you are in the place of small s, if you are using capital S, you are using small s, then again it generates, because there is no predefined system class. There is no predefined system class with small s. We have a predefined system class with a capital S over there. Java C space demo.java. Okay, that means it looks only for the what the language or syntax errors, and then predefined methods that are matching with the what we used in the program. That's it. Apart from that, it doesn't check. If you are following the syntax of Java language, then Java compiler won't touch you. And if you are using appropriate methods with appropriate parameters, then Java compiler doesn't touch you. This is what you need to remember, students. Compiler duty, what's the duty of compiler? That you need to understand. First of all, the compiler duty is it checks the syntax and it checks whether predefined classes has been properly used or not. It looks whether keywords is properly used or not. If you are doing any mistake with respect to keywords, with respect to syntax, with respect to predefined method, then Java compiler doesn't generate .class file. Java compiler does not generate .class file. Okay, so that's the thing that we have. Now what happens is when we are giving it to JVM, Java space demo, JVM is not executing this program, students. What JVM will be doing is it takes first line, it gives it to the CPU, converts into machine language, it gives it to the CPU. Takes second line, converts into CPU, machine language, and gives it to the CPU. Takes third line, converts into zeros and ones, and takes fourth line, converts into zeros and ones. Takes fifth line, converts into form of zeros and ones. Coming to the sixth line, there is a problem which this problem or this execution cannot be done by the CPU. So in that case, the CPU is going to stop the execution here itself, because some problem as CPU facing over here, and without resolving this problem, the CPU doesn't goes to the next instruction. CPU does not goes to the next instruction. It doesn't goes with the next instruction, stops here itself, because he got the CPU got the problem over here. Now, if I'm going to run this program, every instruction is converted in the form of what? Zeros and ones, and that instruction is given to CPU. And sorry. See, it generated error here. Exception in thread main java.lang.exception arithmetic exception divided by 0. That means whenever this instruction has been converted in the form of zeros and ones, zeros and ones, and it is given to what? CPU. CPU is saying that some problem. We are not in a position to do that. Such message again it's passing into the JVM. Now JVM is going to look an appropriate what message for that, appropriate message for that, and displays that message to program. Displays that message to what? A program. This is going to be happened. This instruction is converted in the form of zeros and ones, and we are giving it to CPU, and CPU is going to give it to JVM, and JVM is going to give appropriate message to us. And appropriate message means if that predefined exception is there, means that it uses what? Appropriate message, which the CPU is generating some error. CPU is generating what? Some error, and that error associated message the JVM is going to generate. That error associated message the JVM is going to give an error. The JVM is going to give as a message. Okay, and one thing you can observe over here, students, the program is going to be terminated abnormally. The program was terminated here abnormally. Why abnormally? Why I'm saying abnormally means here the problem we got in this line, but the problem is there in this line, but the CPU can execute remaining 2 lines or not, but it's not executing remaining 2 lines. Here itself, it's stopping the program execution and displaying error to the programmer. And this type of termination can be called as a abnormal termination. It's not a graceful termination. It's not a graceful termination. Graceful termination means even though if any exception occurs in the program and the program has to give that message to the programmer, after giving that message to the programmer, remaining instructions what we have, those instructions must be executed by the programmer. Graceful termination has to be done by the program. Okay, if this abnormal termination was occurred means what remaining statements was not executed, then abnormal termination was occurred over here. So this is another type of exception, and this another type of error, and this type of errors can be called as a runtime errors. And in general, we are going to call it as exception. In general, we are going to call it as what? Exception. Right? What happens here is we come across 3 types of errors, students here. 3 types of errors here. Here, no error. JVM is going to generate an exception. JVM is going to generate what? Exception. Okay, JVM is going to generate what? Exception. And this can be called as runtime errors. For time being, we'll be calling this can be called as runtime errors. Runtime errors. Runtime errors. You can see, students, what happened here is first thing we have not taken semicolon. So you people said that syntax error. Very good. And who is going to check it means compiler is going to check it. And second time what happens is we not got an expected output over here, and this error can be called as logic error because there is some problem in the logic. That's the reason it's not giving an appropriate error. And next kind is the program is going to be terminated abnormally. The program execution was started, the second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, sixth line, we not got any problem over there, but the program execution was stopped abnormally. At the time while executing the program has been terminated abnormally, means some error has got over here. That error can be called as runtime error. That error can be called as what? Runtime error. These are the 3 types of errors we are going to deal in our programming language. Okay, among those errors, we are not going to focus much about the syntax errors because you already know about the programming language syntax, and we are not going to focus much about logical error because that's purely done by the programmer. So we are not focusing on logical error, but we are going to focus on runtime errors. We are going to focus on what? Runtime errors. Okay, if you take something, then what happens? What type of errors that the Java JVM is going to generate? CPU is going to generate an error actually. That error was handled by JVM. JVM looks for appropriate error, and that error is giving some message. That JVM is going to give that message to us. Here also what happened is JVM is not generated an error over here. JVM is not generated error over here. So JVM has seen one instruction in demo. That instruction was forwarded to CPU, and CPU is going to generate what? Error. CPU is going to generate what? Error. Exception in that domain java.lang. Arithmetic exception divided by 0 error. Divided by 0 error, it was generated. Okay. So abnormal termination was occurred. So that's what the PPT is speaking about over here, that a software engineer may commit several errors. A software engineer may commit several errors while designing the project or developing the code. When the programmer is going to write the program, he is in a position to get many errors. He is in a position to get what? Many errors. And these errors are also called as bugs. That means the other name of these errors are going to be called as what? Bugs. And the process of removing them is called debugging. The process of removing them is called what? Debugging. So if you are writing a program, first program in C language, you might got 3 errors, or you might be got 5 errors, you might be got 15 errors for one single line, and those number of lines was not there in the program, but you might be getting this many errors because of awareness of the syntax. You might be getting such type of problems, and you may not get an expected output, and you will be going to shock by seeing the output of the program. I'm expected this, but I got this. So in that case, there is a problem in the logic. So that kind of errors can be called as a logical errors. And there is based on the input given by the program, based on the input given by the programmer to the program, and the program may terminate abnormally by giving some message. This is going to be happen at the program execution. See, you compile time errors occurs at compile time itself. That means before compiling the program, while doing the compilation itself, it generates what? Error. And runtime errors occurs while executing the program. That means by giving some input or the values that we are taken in the program, as per that, the runtime errors are going to be occurred. And logical errors means this logical errors occurs something you expected, the program is generating what something, it's not generating runtime error, not generating compiled error, but something you're expecting, and that something some output you're not getting from your program. So this type of errors can be called as what? Logical errors. You can see a compile time error. I already placed one program here. I not taken semicolon over here. I not taken semicolon over here. So it's generating an error in the 2 places. And this is what compile time error. Coming to the logical error, see, I taken a value as 10, b value as what? 9. But I'm expecting sum of 2 numbers, but I'm performing what? A minus b over here. So the sum of 2 numbers that I'm expecting is 19, but I got here the value as what? 1. So this is another type of error, that is logical error. So logical error depict the flaw of logic of the program. The programmer might be using wrong formula, or the design of the program itself wrong. Logical errors are not detected either by Java compiler or by JVM. Okay, this was the example. Next, runtime error. So what this type of errors, see, I'm going to take a value as 0 and b value as what? 9, and and we are going to print a value, b value, and we are printing what? Sum of 2 numbers. But here inside this main, we are not taken string args. So it's giving some error that main method not found in class D. Main method not found in class D, define main method as this. So it's not giving any error at compile time, but it's giving error at runtime by saying that main method was not there. The syntax of main method is like this. The method of writing this main method is like this, but it was not declared at compile time. It was declared at what? Runtime. Okay. So this is what the introduction of your thing, and this will comes under your fundamental of exceptions and exception handling. Okay. So just make a note of this, students, fast. Just type this from here, errors in Java program. From this you can write. While writing the thing, you can turn on your videos, right? So let's do one thing today onwards. I will call upon 5 students or 6 students, and you need to show what you are writing. Randomly, I will be calling, not like a rule number, right? Today, the lucky person is going to be 33. Turn on your video and what you are writing, show it to me. 33.
Sir, video on అవ్వట్లేదు సార్.
రాస్తున్నావా?
రాస్తున్నాను సార్.
ఏనా సో క్లాస్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత నాకు వాట్సాప్ లో పంపించండి.
ఓకే సార్.
Next, another lucky student today is going to be 504. 504, 504, 504, 504. So turn on video. ఓకే. అమ్మని అన్మ్యూట్ చేసి మాట్లాడితే తెలుస్తుందా మనం ఆన్ చేసావా లేదా అన్నది. ఓకే, వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్. నెక్స్ట్ విల్ గో విత్ 1 we went, 4 we went, and then we'll go with 507. Oh, this is a very good. Kartikeya. Very good. 510. No, 510. 513. 13. 513. Stephen. 517. No, 517. 521. No, 521. 525. 28. No. 526 also not there. See, the strength is 33. Completed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Take this one, compile time error definition.
Completed, sir.
Logical errors. Completed?
No, sir.
Completed?
Yes, sir.
Make a note of the students. 34 Niharika. What happened, ma? 34. Join now. Network problem, Niharika. Went to 33, very less number. Many are absent today.
Completed, sir.
Runtime errors. Simple way want to communicate about this exception handling mechanism is that till now we learned about the syntax of Java program, how to write method, how to declare variables, arrays, and all we have discussed. So with that, what happens is we are going to overcome the compile time errors. And JVM also generates some errors. If it is not able to find main method, it generates error. If it is not able to find out an element or which is there after beyond the size of the array, then it generates what? Error. And if it is not able to perform anything with the instruction or getting any problem with the instruction, then it generates what? Error. Now in this exception handling mechanism, whatever the errors that JVM is going to raise, the JVM is going to raise, and that kind of errors we'll be learning first. Next, we'll be seeing how to handle that kind of errors. We know that there might be a chance of getting this error. The JVM might be generating some error. So how to handle that error? How to handle that error? That we'll be learning in this exception handling mechanism or exception handling topic. Okay. So this is what we have completed. Response students completed.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Shall we continue for another 2 to 3 minutes? Respond. You can talk openly, no problem with me.
No, sir.
Who is that? Who said no? Ranjita.
Prashant, sir.
Okay. So I think from morning onwards, what we are done. Fine. So any doubts if you have, you can ask students. Otherwise, you can leave. We'll had a session. So my video got done now. So we'll add a session in tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be going with exception, the definition of exception from predefined exceptions followed by try catch and all we'll be discussing in next class. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, you can leave. No problem. Yeah, I received a message from.
So notes.
Yeah, seen. Fine. Okay, Ranjita.
Yes, sir.
Okay, who is Ranjit among these two? Left side one or right side one?
Sir, right side one.
Who is what? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Neha 506, Stephen. Neha 506, Stephen. 556, Stephen. Neha. Stephen. From beginning of the class onwards, you are not responding. I'm creating a proof also. Okay, fine.